Hello, everyone. Happy July 30th, which is crazy that we are in July already. We're at the end of July already. My kids start school back August 4th, which is next Monday. So summer is basically over. And while I will miss certain things about summer, I will tell you, I am ready. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm ready for some structure. I am ready for some routine. Like I start to crave it by the end of summer because everything seems mildly out of control. So my kiddos, my oldest kid is going to middle school too. So that's a whole different transition. If anybody has been through that, please, I need your help because holy cow, it's a whole different world. So anyway, today is our live Power Number Show. We do this once a month where I come and talk about things that are a little bit more topical, a little bit more, things that are going on in real time in the world. I do a lot of content for YouTube, but it's hard to stay kind of topical with that. So this is my chance to really be actually live with you. So you might be watching me. Say hi if you're here. I see a bunch of you on here, which is amazing. So say hi if you are here. If you're watching me on Facebook, say hello. If you're watching me on YouTube, say hello. It's really great to see you, and I'd love to interact with you a little bit. Okay, first of all, I want to call out our sponsor, which is FreshBooks. So FreshBooks is a great bookkeeping software, but they do a lot more than bookkeeping. They have an amazing invoicing platform, especially for small business owners, especially service-based. I think it's great for solopreneurs, service-based entrepreneurs that do a lot of invoicing, need project tracking, things like that. So FreshBooks is great for that, but it has great bookkeeping and also things like payroll. So FreshBooks is a fabulous option if you're looking for alternatives. We're going to talk about this here in a minute. But if you're looking for alternatives to QuickBooks Online, it's a great one to definitely check out. And thank you, FreshBooks, for sponsoring today's Power in Numbers Live. All right, let's jump on into it. Remember, we talk about news, cues, and to-dos today. Oh, hi. I'm just going to say hi to a couple people. Hi, Stacy from Detroit. Nice to see you. And hey, Susan, how's it going? Yay. I love seeing you guys here live. So you get gold stars for being here live. Okay. So let's do our first session, which again, we do news, to-dos, and cues. We have 3 different segments to this show. So let's go. All right, here's the news section. So there's a lot. Holy cow, y'all. There's a lot. And I first need to upfront say I was wrong. And I am not a human who likes to admit when she is wrong. Ask my husband. It takes a lot. It takes a lot for me to say, you know what? I was not correct about that. But in this instance, I was wrong. I'm actually going to, I went and found this. For those of you, does anybody know, if you're in the comments and you were here last month, you probably know what I was wrong about. Go ahead and put it in the comments for an extra gold star. But I'm going to play the clip from last month's Power Numbers Live so that you can see specifically what I was wrong about. So this is hard for me, y'all. I'm going to tell you. Let me put it up here real quick. Okay, here's me and me. This is kind of creepy. Weird. What we're going to talk about here is that actually, there's actually a lot of fracturing even among the Republican support for this. And it's happening more and more, which is why, to me, the odds of this actually, getting passed by their July 4th deadline that they've set for themselves, I would be absolutely shocked. I would be shocked. So I will come back at my July episode if that actually happens. I don't know. I'll do something. I'll do a little dance on this video. If in fact this thing gets passed, I don't even think it's going to get through the Senate, much less, the process now is the House passed their version of the bill last month. Sometimes I surprise myself. Now, why I decided that I was going to promise something on the fly, I decided this as I was doing this, and not because of any other reason other than I just really, really did not think that there was a way they were going to get this bill through. I just thought there was so much fracturing, even within the Republican Party. I know, Jackie. I know. I almost I'm going to tell you, I almost ignored this entirely. I almost was like, who's going to remember? Nobody's going to remember. And then I was like, you know what? Nope. I've got to stay true to my word. And we'll hang around in just a minute. You're going to get to see a little dance because I'm going to do it. And not because I'm excited that this passed. So I want to make that clear. Like this bill is a lot of things. So there are things I like about it. There are things I really don't like about it. There are things that are like kind of okay, neutral, but might be good for some people. There are things that are really not great for a lot of people. It's a huge, big, beautiful, it's a big bill. So I have a lot of mixed feelings, as I think most people who have like actually dug into the specifics of this, because it covers a lot of things. Now, I will say, I think some of the things that are most impactful to small business owners are actually positive. So that when I focus on looking at this bill from the lens of small business owners, small business taxes, I actually think there's a lot of good things in it. But there's just a lot. So here's the text. If you guys want to, go to sleep reading 800 pages of the one big beautiful bill, I will tell you, fact check anything that you see. And the reason that I say that is because there's a lot of misinformation out there. So just make sure anything that you're seeing from any sources, including my own, right? Fact check on it, because I even put out something that had the wrong date and I didn't realize it. There's just a lot of misinformation in a lot of even the materials out there. So if you're not sure, go back to the source and try to understand it. I will say even ChatGPT is making mistakes on this. I've had to correct it multiple times. I was having a conversation with ChatGPT this morning about this bill. I even put the text of the bill in. It was trying to have it help me, interpret a few things, and it got a few things very wrong, and I had to tell it. So, and then it's just kind of like, oops, my bad. Here's the real answer. But if you don't know to question it, you might get the wrong answer. So that's just something important to know is always go back to the full text where you can to learn about it. But I was shocked that it went all the way through, that they got together and they signed this thing on the 4th of July, which, of course they did. So, yes, I am eating a little bit of crow today. I was wrong. I can admit when I am wrong. And therefore, to everyone, I will do what I promised I would do on the fly last time for no reason whatsoever. I'm looking at, I can't put real music on because it'll shut me down because of all the rights, copyright issues. So I'm just I haven't even tested these. I don't even know what these background musics are that come in my streaming platform, but here we go. Oh God, this is so embarrassing. Those of you watching this, you get this. Maybe I'll cut this out on the replay. Okay, here we go. This is the dance music. Oh gosh, this is terrible. Oh, all right. Dance with me at home, guys. I feel like I'm like the people from what was that movie? Night at the Roxbury, right? That's the dance I'm gonna do. All right. Let's see if this gets picked up a little bit. All right, this is all I'm gonna do. That's it. That's all you get. I was wrong. I am glad that's done. I was kind of dreading that today. Oh my God, my team is loving it. Yeah, I did it. Okay. All right. So anyway, big beautiful bill has passed. And there is a summary that I did. I'm not going to go into all the specifics today. I'll talk about a few things, but here is a more, it's like a 12-minute summary video. It's not that long, but definitely go watch this if you're interested after it, because I really talk about what impacts small business. So we're going to talk about the no tax on tips on here, no tax on overtime. How does that impact actually small business? A couple updates I wanted to give. So specifically for no tax on tips. One thing, just kind of, I've seen a lot of misinformation specifically on this one. Some people are saying, okay, no tax on tips means just cash tips, like i.e. if the customer gives cash and not credit card tips. That's not true. When the bill says cash tips, they actually have a, explanation of what they consider cash tips, and that includes electronic payments. When they say cash tips, it just means like if somebody gives you movie tickets, that doesn't count. But I don't know who's claiming those anyway as income. So, right, like if they're giving you a gift, right, that wouldn't count in this non-taxable thing, but like nobody's claiming those to be honest, anyway. And I don't know how many people are actually giving gifts to their servers or anything. So that's something I wanted to clarify. The other thing I wanted to clarify on that too is when it says no tax, it means no federal income tax. There can still be state income tax, and there will still be payroll taxes. So that's, again, it's not just no tax, it's no federal income tax, but that doesn't roll off the tongue quite as easily as no tax on tips. Doesn't sound as good. So remember that you're still going to have that, for self-employed people, that's 15.3%. I've also seen misinformation on this saying it doesn't apply to self-employed people or business owners. It absolutely can in certain industries. So the key on this no tax on tips is it has to be in an industry where tips are customary. So if you are a self-employed hairdresser, right, hairstylist, and you get tips, that's one that is specifically called out. So they haven't called out much. The only things they've called out for sure that we know are going to count industry-wise are food service and, like personal care, like hairstylists, estheticians, things like that. That I don't think it will stop there. They committed in the bill that within 90 days of passing, so that would be October 2nd, I believe is the date, that they need to come out with a list of what those professions are, right? So right now we're kind of guessing, I just had, Michelle who does pet services, right? She was asking for her pet services, people will this count for us? My guess is that yes, this would count in things like pet services, stuff like that. But again, we're going to kind of have to wait and see. And I think even in whatever list comes out, there will hopefully be some flex of like what you need to show. Now, it will not apply to coaches, consultants, things like that. So if you send invoices for coaching work that you did and there happens to be a tip line and somebody puts it in there, unfortunately, that doesn't count. So that's just something to be aware of. I think some people are going to want to think about how they could shift more of their income towards tips. I wouldn't get too cute with it. And again, let's wait and see what they come out with and say are the actual industries that are involved in this. Now, if you're asking me what I think the biggest win for small businesses, there's a few of them. But I will say the biggest win is the qualified business income deduction being made permanent. That's the 20% deduction that we get for qualified business income that essentially reduces the amount of our taxable income. Now, there are a lot of exclusions, things like that, but QBI has been the one thing over the last several years that actually has reduced my own taxes and a lot of people I know. So you may not realize that you're being impacted by QBI, but that change came in 2017 and it was supposed to roll off this year. So next year, your taxes were about to go up for most small business owners out there, right? So while this won't actually decrease your taxes necessarily between this year and next year, it won't increase. So there were a lot of things like that in this tax bill where it's not actually decreasing from where you are today, but what it would have been had some of those tax breaks rolled off. Okay. So that's just something to know is that it's not like we're going to get some big windfall, but we're not going to have this big increase that was planned because essentially there was a cliff. And I hate this. Like, this is one of the things that I have a bone to pick with when it comes to tax policy is that I think all tax policy needs to be made permanent generally. These tax cliffs are really bad for business because it makes it very hard to plan into the future. Right. And I am a planner. I am a CPA. I want the information. I want to be able to plan into the future. And when there is a potential tax cliff that oftentimes isn't even solved, like, this would have happened at the end of this year and people didn't know, like, okay, should I invest? What should I do? We need laws that aren't willy-nilly based on who is in the office, right? We need laws that are going to, stick around and be things that we can build around. We need more certainty. Uncertainty, I say it all the time, uncertainty is the enemy of business. And so that comes into play too with some of these tariff conversations as well. I've talked about that in Power Numbers Live. I do think tariffs are going to have a negative impact. The biggest thing though is we don't know, right? It's like maybe yes, once there is a policy, we can work with it to figure out the solutions. Okay, where can I look for suppliers that have lower tariffs? Okay, right? We can't make solutions when things are changing constantly and when everything is up in the air. And so instead, business sits and does nothing. And what happens when business sits and does nothing and waits to see what's going to happen? The economy contracts, right? That's not good for anybody. Hiring slows down, all of those things happen. So for me, that's the biggest kind of bone to pick that I have is like, let's make a plan and go with it. And then we can work around it. But like, how do we plan when everything is just like, I don't know, it's changing every single day. It feels really chaotic. And I know a lot of business owners feel that way as well. So that's my hope, is that we get just like some go ahead, this is what's happening. And it's not like this constantly changing deadline that's moving. And we're like, what's going on? It feels like BOI all over again, right? Like, do we need to do this? Do we not? Do we need, okay, this says we do, and now we don't, and now we do again. And what is going on? Can we just have some marching orders and like, so that we can go forward without having to worry about all the different potential scenarios in our head? Yes, I think this is huge. And I really do think that the tips thing could be big too. I also think it's going to be rife for potential manipulation, but we'll see. Same thing with overtime laws, right? Overtime will not affect business owners in the same way because, again, as business owners, for your employees, if they're working overtime, you're still going to have to pay your side of the taxes regardless. As far because those are payroll taxes, right? And so, and you won't be eligible as a business owner for that overtime. You're exempt from that. So, unfortunately, the overtime won't help as much, but the no tax on tips could. And even if you're not a person who accepts tips yourself, but you have employees who do, this could be positive for them. It could be easier to recruit people into those jobs because, they know that they're going to have that tax benefit as well. All right. Okay. So those are my thoughts. Again, I go into a lot more detail. There's a lot of, another big thing for business is going to be this accelerated depreciation by being able to write things off, earlier. There's a lot of good things for like real estate investors and stuff like that. If you're in that niche, that could be really good. But even bonus depreciation is can be a good thing for anyone who has business assets that they purchase, right? So there is a lot in this that I think is helpful. And again, balance that against the not so great. That's where we end up with these things. But I do think from a small business standpoint, there is a lot that we can be, that is positive, that is going to have a positive impact for me, especially from a tax perspective for us. Okay. All right. And I'm honestly glad it's done. As much as I didn't think like it was going to happen, we can make a plan now. Now it's like, okay, this exists and we're not sitting in this, will it, won't it land, and we can go forward and make a plan and figure out how best to deal with it. Right. And that's always better than sitting in uncertainty for eternity. Okay. All right. So that was the main news. Oh, the other news that I wanted to talk about, completely unrelated, but has been something that's been coming up a lot, is the new QuickBooks prices. So if you are using QuickBooks Online, which I think it's 81% of small business owners are. So if you're using an accounting software, it's probably QuickBooks Online. In which case this is relevant for you. Unless you're getting your QuickBooks Online subscription through your accountant, it may not affect you in the same way, or you may not see that effect. But it is, I think it's actually going up for accountants as well. So you may still see that getting passed through to you. I'm going to show you a little breakdown of those price increases. And you can see I'm going to put up this article, which is from Woodard, which they have some really good articles for accountants here. But this one was kind of a breakdown of what's changing. So right now, here's what's going on. QuickBooks Online is going up. QuickBooks Payroll is going up, not as much. Payroll's pretty minimal, I would say. But when you look at QuickBooks Online, it is changing a decent amount. Let me try to see if I can increase this just a little bit so that you can see it better. Is that helpful? Hopefully that's helpful. Okay, so specifically, Simple Start was 35, going up to 38. Not a huge deal, but again, it's a decent price, like percentage increase because it was small anyway. And these price increases have been happening like every single year, and they're pretty different. So it's significant. So when you have a 15-ish% price increase every single year, like it compounds pretty fast. So Essentials is going up $10, Plus is going up from $99 to $115, and then Advanced, for those of you on that, is going up as well. And then just so in case you're curious, here's kind of the payroll. And this is happening. It has been rolling out to some. It rolled out July 1st, but I think to everybody, it's gonna go up on, let's see, to everybody else, it's going to go up by August 1st, which is 2 days away. So if you haven't seen it yet, you're about to see it in your new bill. So if you're wondering, wait, hang on, I haven't been paying attention to this and I saw my QuickBooks bill and it went up, this is why. So it happens. They're adding more AI tools, things like that. But I understand the frustration. I've gotten a lot of frustration from a lot of people who follow me about this. I used to make a lot of content for QuickBooks as well. And I still think it's a good platform, but I am frustrated as well by the constant increasing in pricing. Andy says, and this is true, Andy says too, probably explains why Xero sent an email a couple of days ago saying that they're going up on October 1st. Yep, Xero's going up as well. They're going to change, they're going to change their pricing. They're adding new features. I get it. But it is good to kind of go and look at each different one and see what's the best fit for you. And then also look at the cost element to see if it's worth it for the additional cost. So like I said, this video is sponsored by FreshBooks. So I should go ahead and tell you FreshBooks is one that I recommend, especially for those service-based providers who need that invoicing functionality. There's a lot of great things to getting paid faster, all the things. So if you're looking for an alternative, FreshBooks may be a good place to start. And I have special deals also. So if you go to jamietrull.com/FreshBooks, that's where you can see my special deals. Right now, I believe it's 90% off for 4 months. So it's better than what you can get on the website. If you want to try it out, 90% off for 4 months is quite a bit better. This is a good time. I've been telling people this is a really good time to be trying out a new accounting platform before you get to the end of the year and have to scramble. So it's much easier to kind of start now, and you can even be using them in tandem because it's not going to cost you much, these first couple of months while you get up and running. So if you want to try something out, it's a good time to do that. Here's that special deal for 90% off for 4 months. I don't know if they're changing the deal. I'm not in control of the deals, but this is what it is now, and it's a great deal. So you can go check that out. And if you want to kind of have a comparison of QuickBooks versus FreshBooks, this is a full video comparison I did of it, so that you can kind of look and see if this is going to make sense for you. Let's see. And then if you want to look at all the providers and how I've compared them, I compare QuickBooks Online, Xero, FreshBooks. Here, I have a little decision tree chart because I really want to help you guys find the best one for you. I don't want you just to pick the cheapest or to pick, the one that, you've heard me talk about. Definitely go and check out this to make sure you're picking the right one for your type of business, because what might be a great fit for me may not be a great fit for you, or vice versa, right? So I've kind of looked at that to help you make those decisions. But it is the way of the world. The prices are going up on a lot of these platforms. It's one of the drawbacks of, a cloud-based solution, but I think there are a lot of benefits to being cloud-based. And hopefully in the grand scheme of your business, right? It's a small amount of money to pay for the organization it provides. But I like the fact that there are other tools with things like FreshBooks that are going to help you collect money faster, right? Track your profitability better, things like that are going to make the cost worthwhile. So we need to look at it not as just like a cost to have, your financials for taxes. It's not just for compliance. This is for cash management. This is also for strategy. So if you follow me, I talk about the 3 different financial duties that you have in your business. One is compliance. That's making sure that you don't go to jail and you get all of your tax filings done and all that kind of stuff, right? The other one is cash management, making sure that you don't go bankrupt, that you can pay your bills, you can pay your staff, etc. And then the last one is strategy. And that's where you start to make those better decisions for your business. What kind of products and services do you offer? What is the pricing of those? What do you invest in your business versus not, right? What's providing you a return? So the nice thing is that, a accounting software like FreshBooks can help with all 3 of those, not just compliance. So don't just look at it as a cost you're paying for compliance, right? It's actually to give you the insights into your business that you need to run it better. So there's my little spiel. Got on my soapbox for a minute there, y'all. Okay. Stacy's asking, This is a great question. Any thoughts on the delayed start to tax season 2026? I saw that they've announced that now, I think it's mid-February is when tax season will start. So, you know, yeah, I can see that there will be a, now I will say, if you had clients that were ready to file in like January or early February, you have better clients than most tax preparers I know. Right? So, most of the time, most tax preparers I know start getting flooded in March and the beginning of April, unfortunately. So I'm hoping, like, I do think it's better for them to stall versus to let people file and then have to file amendments later. Like, that's just double work, right? So there's still a lot you can do before you can actually press that filing button, right? So I would just, as a tax preparer, still gather all the same information that you you're going to need, right? You can do all of those. It's just you can't actually file it until at least mid-February. So yes, it will be delayed. If you guys haven't heard that, tax filing won't start until a little bit later this year, because there are a lot of changes, and I'd rather them take their time to make sure it's right than to have to go back. And we've had that happen before. I'm trying to remember, it might have been in the COVID timeframe where things were rolling out. And so there was a lot of having to go back and amend previously filed returns, and that caused more delays, and everything was, just slower than normal. So I'd rather them kind of fix it in the tax forms to begin with, so that we know we're not going to have to do, a bunch of amendments, because those are no fun and they take extra time and cost money. Okay. All right. So, oh man. All right. Let me switch over. So that was the news section. And now it's time for to-dos. Okay. So what should we be doing now? It's July. Honestly, like, probably just prepping for school and doing back to school shopping, maybe taking advantage of your tax-free weekend. No, I'm just kidding. I think July is one of those times where it is a little bit of like, okay, we are done with the first 6 months. So I'll tell you what I'm doing as kind of from my CFO, putting my CFO hat on. Where is my CFO hat? I actually have it. I'll talk about it. Let's just, well, we can. Okay. So this is my time when I'm going to put my CFO hat on. If you've been in my financial fitness formula, you should have one of these as well. Feel free to put your CFO hat on when you do this work. But typically this time of year is when I'm doing a lot of look back and then looking at the last 6 months, right? Now we have full data, make sure all your data is up to date through the first 2 quarters of the year. So I am typically looking at how are we looking the first 6 months of the year. That does require me then to make sure my bookkeeping is up to date, which is important, right? Sometimes if we just think of it for taxes and compliance, we're not keeping our books up to date. And so that means that we don't have that data available to look at and see, like, how are we doing versus our goals, right? Hopefully you set some goals for yourself at the beginning of the year. And now is a good time, get those goals out. A lot of times we set those goals and then we never look at them again. In fact, we're like, I don't even know where I put that, right? Like, make sure you're looking back to say, okay, how did we land in the first half of the year? And are we still on target for those goals? And if not, what do we need to do? And if yes, what's been going well? What do we need to do more of? I'm always looking, when I look at my financials, right? And I love to have a good half year because it's just so easy to take that ×2 and say, okay, if we did the exact same thing that we did the first 6 months, right? Then here's where we would land. Or maybe looking at that from seasonality, right? And knowing, like, okay, well, these are our best quarters. These are our best months. What is this going to look like when I kind of model this out for the full year? And then what does that mean for me as the business owner? What does that mean for the draws that I can take, my income for the year, right? Is that in line with the targets that I have? How are my profit margins and costs looking, right? This is a really good time to do that debrief and make some decisions. Okay, so that's the fun. Set aside literally a day. I have a day. Typically, I try to set aside, even if you don't have a day, 2 or 3 hours, right? And say, okay, I'm gonna make sure I'm looking at my financial statements. I am comparing to last year. I'm comparing to what I expected, and make some decisions. Decide, like, at the end of the day, I'm going to look at the data, and then hopefully it's going to help me make a decision about the products or services that I'm selling, or the pricing. Maybe I need to change my pricing, right? Or maybe I need to invest in something. But it's hard to make those decisions without really looking at the data at all. And that's what the CFO time is for, is like, hey, let's pull out the data. We can have that meeting with our CEO, right? I was talking about this where literally it's like, okay, I need a CEO hat, but I'll like have a conversation with myself. CFO is looking at the data. CEO is more kind of big picture of the business, a little bit more maybe like gut off the cuff. And so when you put them together, when you put the visionary together with the data, that's where the beauty lies, right? Like that's where you make the best decisions. So that's what I recommend that you do right now. Spend some time getting your numbers together for the first 6 months and looking. And even if you don't know what to look at, right? That's okay. Just look at them, look at your monthly trend. How are you trending? Compare it to last year. How are you versus the first 6 months of last year? That is the biggest thing that I think will serve you really well for this next half of the year. Don't just keep letting the year go by without taking an intentional pause to look at your data. Even if you're someone who looks at it routinely, right? Do a deeper dive and really think about, what does this mean for the rest of my year, and how can I make modifications now? What decisions do I need to make in order to hopefully make the goals that I have, or maybe I need to revise them, right? Maybe I need to revise them down. Maybe I need to revise them up. But, and we are in that position, thankfully, as a business. I'm literally sitting and revising up our business, forecast for the end of the year. And that's because I've been watching the data and I know like, hey, actually we have potential to, even beat our goals that we had. So that's really exciting too. So just spend that time, do that, and get intentional with it. That's the biggest to-do that I have for you right now. And maybe take a look at other accounting platforms. Again, if you're interested in making that shift, you don't have to wait until January 1st to do it. And in fact, I don't recommend you wait that long. It's better to get up and running on a new one, whether you take all that data over or not, or, you can decide how you want to do it. I do recommend taking time to figure out what platforms you want. Give yourself some time to get up and running in a new platform. And that's true with any tech that you're changing, right? You don't want to just like pull the Band-Aid off, at the first of the year. Have a little time to test it out, get used to it, all of that, get things moved over so that it doesn't feel like you're, running a million miles a minute. Or you get to the end of the year and you're like, well, I just don't have time to do that. So then you're like, I guess I'm on this for another year, right? Like we don't want to be in that position. So this is a good time to also be looking at all those, all the different systems you use in your business and what you might want to change. Okay. All right. Taking this. Well, should I leave it on? Now I'm going to have hat hair if I take it off, y'all. It's staying on. CFO hat staying on. Probably for the rest of the day now. Okay. Let's go to questions. And if you are here and have additional questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. Let me pull that up really quickly. Whoops. Okay. Now, most of the questions that I wanted to answer were related to the big, beautiful bill. So again, I was getting questions a lot about what are the right industries, like what industries are going to be impacted by the no tax on tips. Like I said, by October 2nd, they're supposed to come out with a list. So make sure, again, if you're watching this, make sure to subscribe so that you can see those power numbers live. I'll talk about it there if and when that list comes out, and direct you to where to find it, because I think that's going to be really important. And this does take effect this year. So that's one thing that a lot of this stuff, is delayed and is in line for 2026. But this is one, no tax on tips and no tax on overtime, does apply to this current year. So we want to know what we need to do and how this is going to impact us for 2025. So hopefully we'll have that list and be able to make some decisions. But I'm sure once that comes out, there will be even more questions, because that's what happens when the IRS issues anything. Everything they issue, you're like, but wait, now I have like a million more questions. So I have a feeling that's going to be the case. This time, we're not going to have all of our questions answered by October 2nd, but hopefully we have some of them at least. So anywho, that is the case with the question that I had about the about no tax on tips. Same thing, no tax on overtime takes place this year. And so, that's something to be aware of as well. I was also getting questions about, let's see, what were some of the other ones that I had? Let me pull up the questions that I had been looking at on this about the big, beautiful bill. And again, if you have any, put them in the comments. A lot of people wanting to know how this impacts their business. And again, it's going to really depend on the type of business that you have. But the biggest things are going to be QBI, talking to your tax professional. Now, I would let it sit for a minute. So I wouldn't, I didn't put talking to your tax professional in the to-dos yet. I think you will need to do that, but I think you need to give it a little bit of time, at least like probably another month for your tax pro to be able to, again, I mean, even the IRS is delaying when you can start filing taxes. Like, give your tax pro a little bit of time so that they can advise you correctly on things, right? So I always recommend that, by like September, October, you're sitting down with your accountant to talk about tax planning for this current year, and then looking at next year as well, because you kind of want to look at 2 years in a row when you're doing tax planning activities. So give them a little bit of time, and make sure that you allow them time to kind of process to be able to give you that information. Because unfortunately, it's not like we can plug ourselves into this bill and download it. There's information that's coming out over time. There's going to be additional explanatory documents, because the bill doesn't give, this is one thing that people don't realize, is the bill tells you kind of like overall, okay, here's the overall thing, but it doesn't tell you how we're actually going to get there, right? It's like, how is this going to work? I don't know. That is when there's, additional things that will come out that will be kind of more, notices and stuff like that, and guidance that'll come out from the IRS or the Department of Treasury. And that takes time for them to do. So there's still a lot of questions when it comes to like, okay, what does this though mean? And so we're going to have to sit with that uncertainty, my favorite thing. I love uncertainty. We're going to have to sit with that, unfortunately, a little while longer, but we can still do some preparation. I think watching videos like this so that you know what's coming is a really good way to start. And then as we know a little bit more, sit down with your tax pro, talk about, what's coming up and what decisions you need to make, and they can help walk you through, okay, here's the tax impact of those. I, however, am a big fan, and I've said this before, don't let the tail wag the dog. Okay. So all the questions I'm getting about the big, beautiful bill, a lot of them, it is important to have this knowledge to make business decisions, but the tax impact shouldn't drive your business decisions. What's best for your business should drive your business decisions, and then find out what's the most tax advantaged way to do this, right? Don't go buy property because it's a good tax advantage. If that's not the best thing for you to do for your business, don't go do it just because, okay, I get a tax benefit for doing this, right? So I'm always reminding people of that yes, we can use the tax code, but the purpose to use it is to further our business goals. Let's not, get it twisted. Let's not let this change anything. Let's just make sure that first and foremost, we're making the decisions that are best for our business, and then considering the tax impact of that and how do we do that the most tax advantaged way. Okay, again, I'm soapboxing today, y'all. I need to stop. Oh my gosh. So many soapboxes. Actually, this would be a good time to plug. If y'all don't mind my soapboxes, if you like them, if you want more of them, I actually I have a book coming out. There you go. So I'll let my team put in the chat. You can go pre-order it, jamietrull.com/hidden profit. It's coming out. It's being published by Simon & Schuster, Simon Acumen, which is an imprint of Simon & Schuster, which is crazy, y'all. It's my first book. I very much appreciate any support y'all could give. And it's coming out in October, but I really want people to pre-order ASAP, because that helps to tell the bookstores how many they should order, right? It really, pre-orders are huge, especially for a first-time author. So just make sure to go check that out. Also, we're giving away about $300 worth of bonuses just for buying a $29 book. So not bad. It's a really good deal. So go check out jamietrull.com/hidden profit. You can see how to be, pre-ordering this book, where you can do it. You can do it on all of the biggest retailers, Amazon, of course, Target, Walmart, bookshop.org, all the different things. You can get it anywhere that books are sold pretty much on pre-order online. And so definitely go check that out. Here, I'll put the link really quickly. I forgot to put this in the document for my team. Hang on. Somebody is at my door, which is super fun when I'm on a live. Okay, jamietrull.com/hidden profit is where you're going to go to be able to get that. And then you're going to be able to submit your order number and grab all your bonuses. So please, please, please do it. Earlier is always better. I really, really appreciate it. Here we go to where you can pre-order. You guys are amazing. I'm going to get going and seeing who's at my door because, you know, the joys of working from home, who's with me. And I hope everyone is doing well. And I'll see you next month. The last Wednesday of every month is when I do Power Numbers Live. Hopefully I won't have to dance again. That was awful. I'm not going to watch this one back because that's super embarrassing. And I appreciate you guys all for being here. Bye for now.